It's the Ugly American Werewolf in London Rock Podcast with your hosts, the Wolf and Action Jackson, who are keeping rock alive by talking classic rock, hard rock, progressive rock, heavy metal, 80s music, early MTV, UK vs. US chart success, and much more. This is the home of classic album and live concert reviews and your place for interviews with artists and legends. You're rocking with the Wolf.
Out there, rock and rollers. Welcome to a special episode number 243 of the Ugly American Werewolf in London Rock Podcast. Brought to you by me, your host, Mac B. the Wolf, and I will be joined, as always, by my partner in crime from the East Coast of the USA, Mr. Gary Action Jackson. And if you haven't been listening lately, you've been missing out, as we did a 3-part series on Live Aid to commemorate it at 40 years. That's right, on July 13th, 1985, Live Aid took place. And two young lads of the MTV generation caught as many glimpses of the event as they could. And it was etched in our brains that day that that was an event so monumentous we'll never see it again. And for the most part, we haven't. And while the first two are about our impressions of how it got off the ground, how it came to be, and then the many performances, the third one, which was released on a special day, July 13th, 2025, the 40th anniversary of Live Aid, was an episode with interviews from original MTV VJ Alan Hunter and longtime Eric Clapton guitar tech Lee Dickson. And both told amazing stories about what was going on the air and backstage behind the scenes that day. Really special episode we were so proud of. And if you haven't heard that one, you may want to stop listening to this one and listen to that one right now. But on this episode, we had Lee Dickson come back. Earlier this year, we reviewed Eric Clapton's Behind the Sun as it was turning 40, an important album for Eric as he fought his way back from some nasty demons he'd been fighting and some less than successful albums in the early 80s. Warner's was anxious to get him back on top. Lee Dickson was Eric's guitar tech at that time, and we had talked about getting together to talk about it, but our schedules got busy, and Lee's on the road quite a bit still, making people sound good around the nation. We have a schedule to make these shows every week. We did our Behind the Sun episode without Lee when it first came out, but Lee was gracious enough to say, yeah, let's talk about it because that was a fun time in my life. And so we're going to give you some time with Lee talking about those sessions, both in Montserrat and LA, and what was kind of going on, who was there, including the Phil Collins and Stings and Steve Lukather's and all these amazing folks who were around to help make this album. Then we're going to give you our original review of the album, the way we saw it, the way we remember it, with a few details as we always do. And then before we say goodbye, we're going to let Lee come back and give you just a little bit more about what it's like being a guitar tech, working with these legends, and the life he's led over the last 40, 50 years. But first, we do have a little bit of business to take care of. We always like to mention we are proud members of the Pantheon Podcast Network, a family of over 100 different shows. You can learn more at pantheonpodcast.com or follow on socials at PantheonPods. And you know we're going to give a shout out to our worldwide sponsor, RareVinyl.com, who has over 250,000 items in stock, folks, and they ship all around the world. And I promise you, they have all sorts of amazing Clapton stuff from every stage of his career, whether you're talking albums or singles, CDs, videos, magazine, first editions, imports, picture discs, hard to find items, whatever your heart's desire is, go to rarevinyl.com. And then you can use the code UGLY, UGLY, to save 10% off one entire order. Not just one item, but one entire order. So you find a copy of the Crossroads box set, pick that up. You want an original copy of the Beano album when he was in the Blues Breakers? Pick that up. Buy some of your favorite singles from the 70s, even the 80s. Put them all in the basket. Use the code UGLY to save a big, fat 10%. So for all you collectors out there, go to rarevinyl.com, use the code UGLY. Your record collection will thank you. Now back to Eric Clapton and Lee Dickson. I've talked on this show many times about how Eric Clapton helped inform me of what rock and blues rock was all about. Something I got into as a young man, which really kind of helped form and influence my taste throughout the years. It got me really into guitars. When I found out Lee and I could hang out, I knew I was going to be picking his brain all the time. Tell me stories about this. Tell me about this song. Tell me about this guitar. Tell me about this tour. Tell me about this person. And sometimes he plays his cards close to the vest. But the bottom line is he's got great rock and roll stories from some of the most legendary artists of all time, and I want to hear him. And if I hear him, I'm going to be happy to share him with you here on the show. So here we go. Before we get into Eric Clapton's Behind the Sun at 40, we're talking with his longtime guitar tech, Lee Dickson, about what was happening in 1985, who was there, and how they made Behind the Sun. Here on The Wolf.
So, Behind the Sun?
Behind the Sun, then, yes. Because we really enjoyed going over this one, and this is... I have a lot of compilations of Eric, but this is one that I've had for a while. It was when he was starting to clean up in the 80s, and he was starting to kind of come back and be... I mean, he'd done albums through the early 80s, but he was really starting to come back, and he's kind of cleaned up, and he's looking good. He's making good new music again.
Well, I think the preceding album, which I think was Money and Cigarettes, the hardcore guitar players are looking for more. The good songwriters are looking for more. It was a different record, and he was drinking a lot at the time. And the title of the album, Money and Cigarettes, that's the last two things he'd look for. Okay. Before he went out the house, he'd go, right, car keys, money, cigarettes, go. And that was what the title of the album was about. So, first of all, the location. I mean, we'd all heard about Montserrat, this island,
Oh, yes.
And I was incredibly excited to go. And the first thing that happened when I flew out there was I met a wonderful, wonderful lady who I'm still friends with, haven't spoken to for many years. Her name at the time was Yvonne Kelly, and she was the studio manager. There was a wonderful dog out there whose name I've been trying to remember all day, Clapton or something like that, this big Alsatian. There was a pool outside the studio. You're on this Caribbean island, like you're in the middle, and you're looking out on these sunsets, and there's nothing there, There's no stores, there's nothing. We're just, here we are, boys. So we start recording, Phil's out there. And there's a couple of things come to mind initially, first few days of recording. The engineer, Phil's, had brought this young guy from London that he really liked called, his second name was Nick Lawney, I think his name was. Okay. And I walk into the studio and they're recording an acoustic part. So Eric's got this old Martin, this, $185,000 Martin, Mm-hmm. And Nick's decided that he can't quite get the sound he wants. So he takes a Shure SM57, which is a microphone that's about 8 inches long and weighs about a pound, and gaffer tapes it to this guitar. So I walk in and I'm like,
what are you doing, man?
And he's going, like what, man? I've got to get the sound. I will get it somewhere else, man. So that's a rare guitar. You don't stick gaffer tape to things that were made pre-war, So Phil kind of comes out, Phil's producing, he goes, are you okay, man? I said, you got to fucking tell him, Phil. You can't do stuff like that. Come and ask me, I'll help you. That's what I'm here for. So back to the swimming pool outside the studio. It was also the first place I learned to swim. I could never, ever swim.
Really?
My father terrified me with it. And I got thrown into pools and all kinds of stuff. And this gigantic pool had a kind of a rim around it, all the way around. It came in at the shallow end, and you could just walk and hold the edge all the way around.
All right.
And I thought, well, that's a help. And one day we were all going to go to the beach. Phil said, let's take a break. So I woke up late after a night of overindulgence, and they'd all gone. And I'm like, for fuck's sake, So I got into the pool myself, a couple of joints. I thought, I'm going to teach myself today. I'm going to go from the deep end to the shallow end. It's pointless doing it the other way around because I'll die. And I just kept doing it, for about an hour. And I'd get there, and each time I'd get to the shallow end. So I developed my own style called the panic crawl. And there's no breathing. I can only swim in swimming pools. And there was stuff like that happened. This is apart from we get to the musical stuff. But there was a great incident with this friend of mine, Eddie Shoestring, who was the keyboard tech. At the end of the session, they had this lovely party for us in this nightclub, the only nightclub on the island, very, very hot. So they had those gigantic, those real on a stand fans, they're like, the blades are like about yay big, and they had one at either end of the room. And they provided catering and music and the local band, and it was to entertain us all and thank us. Eddie and I were vegetarian, and we were asking where the vegetarian food was. So this guy comes out with a gigantic tray, and all it is boiled eggs cut in half with some have a piece of cress, maybe a piece of cucumber, like that. And that was it. And Eddie was really, really drunk by this time on Caribbean rum. Oh, yeah. And it's just, I can see it in my mind's eye, but this is what happened. So the guy gives him this tray, and Eddie looks at the guy and he said, what the fuck is that? And the guy said to him, vegetarian. And he said, and Eddie took the tray and just threw it into this giant fan. And everyone within about a 10 feet radius was completely covered in egg mayonnaise.
Oh my God.
I mean, this spray. And they're all, women with it all over the tits, all over guys. And Eddie's drunk, and it got thrown. And Eddie gets, obviously thrown out of the club. And,
I think so.
And I, as his guardian, get asked to follow. But it was just one of the most mind-blowing things. Just if you imagine 20 boiled eggs just thrown into a fan with mayonnaise on them, and the resulting expulsion. So,
very rock and roll.
On the recording front, it was a really interesting record. Phil's production was. I loved it, but it's very unique. When he produces, it's a Phil Collins record, and it's Phil Collins drumming.
Right, drumming for sure, yeah.
And so through all this amazing, I don't know, we must have been there a couple of months. The only nightmare I had was the day I flew in, and as I was talking about, Yvonne Kelly, the studio manager, took me to see the gear at the airport, and everything was just in a pile upside down, like it had just been tipped off the back of a dumper truck or something. And I'm like trying to make a good first impression and not go too crazy. But, nothing was damaged. It was just the way it is there. They don't... there was things that happened. Eric had an affair with Yvonne. His daughter Ruth who's now in her late 20s, I think, or 30s or something, who's got kids of her own.
Right.
Who I'm still friends with. There was people dropped in, like Stingwood dropped in one day, just passing by on the yacht. Of course, everybody is, drop in.
Right.
Then Sting got involved, and he wanted to do some stuff. And we did this amazing track called Heaven is One Step Away. I think we discussed earlier. I don't think it appeared on the actual album.
No,
I think it was going to be on the original album.
It was supposed to be, but it didn't. Yeah.
And we needed some backing singers, and of course you're on Montserrat in the middle of nowhere, you can't call up the local agency, hey, got any backing vocal, any BVs? No. So we got all the ladies and guys from the studio to be the backing chorus in this song, to sing this chorus of Heaven is One Step Away. And it sounded beautiful. I mean, the harmony, they didn't rehearse it or anything. And at the end of it, he said, that's really great. And Eric said, right, what are we going to call them, Lee? And I said, The Antelopes of Desire. And he said, the fucking what? And I said, The Antelopes of Desire. And he said, yeah, right, that sounds good. And that's what they were credited as. Wherever that record appears, I think they should be credited as The Antelopes of Desire.
Says it right here. Special thanks to Yvonne and the Antelopes of Desire, Diana Puplet, Nigel Carroll, Lee Dickson, Eddie Shoestring, Jeff Banks.
Oh, dead now.
Gordon Sumner, who you might know by a different name.
Yeah, Stunk.
And Desmond and Franklin.
Well, Jeff Banks was another one of the great Genesis road crew. He went on to do the guitars for Malcolm Young on AC/DC and toured with a lot of people. A wonderful, wonderful, typically sarcastic guy from the part of England he was from, up in the north of England. But sadly, he had a series of mishaps, strokes, this, that, and the other, and died a couple of years ago. Another one of those guys that's a rock and roll legend in the tech business, or the roadies we were called then,
That's right. Before
America introduced us to the terms of, I'd say, are you the guitar? No, man, I'm the guitar tech dude. This is my buddy Nige. He's a keyboard tech, man. We don't do that roadie shit. And so that's how we became technicians and not roadies.
That's right.
Thank you, America.
Well, but so things went well in Montserrat, but then there was still more recording to do in L.A.
Well, we complete an amazing album. We have the time of our lives. I teach myself how to swim. Eddie annihilates a half of a nightclub with boiled eggs. I mean, it was just nothing but great memories. And then, once the album coming out, well, Warner's one of kind of not too happy with Phil's production, or what was this? I wasn't privy to the conversation, obviously. But anyway, the result was we went to Hollywood to record. And this time, to back it up, I think Lenny Waronker, who's the head of Warner's at the time, a lovely gentleman, and the fabulous Ted Templeman, legendary producers in their own right, and big part of the Warner management, they were all there. There was a gentleman called Jerry Williams. They'd let Eric hear a few of his songs, and everyone liked his work, but he signed to Warner's at the time. But as I was saying to Mackie, he was a bit of a nightmare, a bit of a, what do you would call it, a wild card, loose cannon, I believe is the expression. And they couldn't control him, although he wrote great material. And so we're in the studio. All of a sudden, we've done an album. Now we're going to have to redo the tracks. We're in North Hollywood. There's Michael Amartian, Jimmy Brolauer, Greg Fillinganes, Nathan East, all for the first time. All these heavy-duty players. Lukather comes in. There's like all the heavy hitters are there. here's the new songs, here's what we'd like you to do. And Eric said, I'd like to meet Jerry, I like the songs. So they make the arrangement to meet Jerry Williams,
There we go.
who's an amazing guy. And when you see him, or when I saw him at first sight, it's Jack Nicholson with a mustache, the same wild gleam in the eye, the same beautiful mischievous grin. And this is all pre-cell phone again. So yada yada yada, Jerry's coming to the studio, he stops a couple of times, I'll be there soon, has to make phone calls, no cell phones. And they said, well, Lee will come and meet you in the car park. And he goes, yeah, that'll be cool. So I'm down in the car park, I'm standing there for 10 minutes smoking cigarettes at the time, waiting. It's really hot. I go back into the building, still no Jerry. 20 minutes, half an hour. All of a sudden this minivan rolls into the car park and just parks, and nothing happens. I'm sitting there, oh, this will be him. And I think, no, it must be someone else. I wait 3 or 4 minutes, and the sliding door of the minivan opens, and these bottles fall out, a couple of bourbon bottles and a few cans of beer and stuff like that. And, I see a foot, and nothing happens for another 3 or 4 minutes, and then Jerry appears. And he's this tall Texan guy, with like this, as I say, this Jack Nicholson fiendish grin and the eyes, but with a mustache. And I went, are you Jerry? And he went, yeah. You Lee? I said, yeah. He said, where are the guys? Took him in, and we became good friends after that. So Jerry's thing was, when he was doing his backing vocals in the studio on these tracks, he wanted to be in darkness. And the whole thing is, when you're an engineer, you're looking at the guy who's singing into the mic in the room. You can say to him, can you come off the mic a little? Can you get a bit closer to the mic? But you couldn't see him because he wanted all the lights off. I love this. So the only way you could see Jerry was occasionally light a cigarette, had a Zippo lighter, and you could see this Zippo lighter sparking a couple of times, and he'd go, there he is, go and move the mic. He was just such a mysterious, such a real one-off, a true original, great writer, but a maniac in his own way. I mean, he came to London with us, played at the Royal Albert Hall, became good friends with him, and as I said to Mac earlier, after that, on another occasion, we were recording in New York, and he said, I need a Strat. So I call up Fender, and I said, can you send me a Strat with whammy bar and a tremolo? Yeah, no worries, man. No worries. Someone will drop one off at the studio. And it's a green Strat with a Jeff Beck nut. People will know what I'm talking about, a roller nut. And I give it to Jerry, and he plays the sessions with it. And at the end, I said to him, he was going out the studio, and I said, here's your guitar. And he took it and he gave it back to me. He said, no, man, here's your guitar. And I have 12 Strats, and not just because it was given to me by Jerry, but this one is magical. It really is, and it's not the most expensive. It's just a wonderful guitar. So all of a sudden we're in the studio. Eric's getting interested in effects because Steve Lukather's got all these kind of effects. And why are you doing that? And how are you guys doing this? And he's surrounded by the cream of the crop. The LA guys. I mean, we knocked out a great record.
Yeah.
And I think at the end, Lenny and Ted and all the guys at Warner Brothers were very happy with it. They got their way. We wanted to record with these guys and do some different songs, and Eric did. And Phil did. It seems to me, I couldn't say mathematically, but it seems like Phil did half the album, they did half the album.
Yeah, it's probably something like that. I mean, Jerry got 3 songs on the record, plus another one that didn't make it, but maybe it was in the 30th anniversary edition. You could get it on disc or something like that. But Forever Man was a big hit for him, though.
Massive, yeah. And Jerry and he became good pals, and I believe Eric recorded some more of his songs. I mean, we did quite a few Jerry Williams songs over a period of 2 or 3 years.
He was on, what was the one with Pretending and all that?
You're asking me? I was only the guitar tech. Yeah, Journeyman.
He definitely had some songs on Journeyman.
Jerry was
I assume
featured
in
on
August,
it.
maybe.
And that's when we brought him over to the Albert Hall too, to do those songs live. And Eric, and just he's the guy that wrote them. And of course Jerry's really nervous because he had to have a shot of this or a shot of that, and I was trying to take care of him, and I did a good job, and he did good at the Albert Hall. He didn't come out too crazy, and it went down well, and everyone received him well because they always loved those shows. But that was quite a record really, because it was the only one that I think, to my knowledge, that ever got kind of not rejected, but would rather.
Well, we're going to have to make some tweaks, yeah.
The Warners weren't happy with it, and that was strange because, as I said earlier, Phil Collins, wonderful drummer, amazing human being, phenomenal producer, top guy at the time.
Yeah,
if he put his magic on your record, it was good.
Yeah, that's right.
But the Warners didn't see it as such, and in a way that was it led to then later, touring later, that Eric toured with Greg Fillinganes and Nathan East. They were asked to join his band. And at one point, I got to tell you this great story. It's irrelevant, it's not connected, but we were doing, I may have told you it before, but we were doing the Royal Albert Hall. There was just three of them on stage, with drummer, obviously, Ferroni.
Okay.
So Ferroni, Fillinganes, and Greg. And those guys had been recording with Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson and all these cats and Quincy and all those people. And, you know, they were really into the movement on the stage thing. All of Eric's players just stood there and played. You know, you didn't see Duck Dunn jumping up on the beat. But Nathan was into the whole thing.
But
Greg,
Nathan is fun, yeah.
Oh, Nathan is an amazing individual. I think he's the most recorded bass player now.
In history.
He's got that record. And Fillinganes had Greg, gentleman, scholar, beautiful person. One of my favourite people. He had one of those keyboards, you know, you stand up and play with. It's got a kind of guitar neck on it.
Guitar, yeah.
And all this is going on, and they're doing all these moves behind him and doing all this dancing. Eric's just oblivious to it, you know, eyes closed, soloing away. Normally the keyboard player would just be standing there and the bass player would just be playing, but these guys are doing all these moves and all this Michael Jackson shit and grooving up and down the stage.
It's fun.
It was fun. Alan Clark, another wonderful human being, keyboard player with Dire Straits for many, many, many years, was in the audience. And I'll never forget this. It was one of the best comments I've ever heard in relation to what I've just told you about the performance going on stage and the movement and everything. I said, what do you think of the show, Alan? He said, oh, Earth, Wind and Eric. Fantastic. Because it looked like Laverne, you know, and those guys in Earth, Wind and Fire, because that's who Nathan's influence was.
Yeah.
You know? And he's doing all this cool shit. He's playing a solo, we'll be doing this shit, you know. And it looked amazing, and it was wonderful, but just that comment, oh yeah, Earth, Wind and Eric. And it was just so droll and so typically English.
We got to get Nathan on the show, Jack.
That would be amazing, because I think you are right. He is the most recorded bass player.
I'll hook you up with Nathan.
Oh, all right. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, Nathan would do it.
Let's not gloss over the fact that you casually call Fender and just get whatever you want.
Not anymore. Not anymore. The name Clapton opened many, many, many doors, and I'm always grateful for that. But I could call them up, and if I called them up now and said, "Hey man, I need a guitar for Gary," they'd go, "Gary who?" You know.
Right.
And no disrespect to my artist, who's pretty famous in his own right in the country world. But you know, if you were working for an artist like Eric, then I could call up Martin and say, "Look, I need this," and it's done. And I call up Fender, I need this and it's done. I call up Gibson, I need this and it's done. You know, boom. Call up Ernie Ball, 24 hours a day. I've always got to talk about Ernie Ball, Sterling Ball, the whole family, just amazing people, took care of me for so many years. The most ridiculous requests, you know, 3 o'clock in the morning in Tokyo. Hey man, how long would it take to get 200 of these picks to me? You know, and they're there, you know, the next evening, you know, which is pretty fast.
Incredible. That was fun listening to Lee tell stories about working with legends. I mean, not just Eric Clapton, who he worked with for so long, but Phil Collins and Sting, and Nathan East, and Greg Fillinganes, Steve Lukather. I mean, legends who are still going today if they're still alive, except for maybe Phil. But it's just great to hear these rock and roll stories. I'm glad we live close to each other so we can hang out more. Hopefully we'll be able to preserve more of these. But like he said, if you're a writer and you'd like to help him tell his story, get in touch with the show and we'll make sure we connect you. Obviously, you get a little extra there besides just the music with learning that Lee learned to swim there during the Behind the Sun sessions in Montserrat before I got wiped away by a hurricane. But now we're going to go into our review, which we did earlier this year in 2025, just before Behind the Sun hit its 40th anniversary in March. We're going to play that now. But at the end, we're going to play you a little bit more from Lee, which isn't necessarily Behind the Sun related. He talks a little bit more about Live Aid and just some fun stories from the road. So make sure you stay tuned at the end to hear more from Lee. But now, it's our review of Behind the Sun at 40.
Hey, this is Alan Hunter, original MTV VJ, now on Sirius XM, and you are listening to The Ugly American Werewolf in London.
Jumping right in. You know, it's got to be tough if you're a living legend.
You know, it really is. Thanks for bringing that up.
But, goodness, Jackson. But all of a sudden you find yourself in a time and place where your talent or aura is no longer appreciated and everyone's kind of moved on. And yet you're like, I know I've been around a long time, but I'm like, you know, I'm 41. You know, I'm not that old. You know, I mean, I know it's kind of like sometimes being a musician or a rock and roller is like being a football player. By the time you're in your mid to late 30s, early 40s, you know the game better than you've ever known it. You understand it. It slows down for you. You're awesome at it mentally. but physically, you just can't do it anymore. That's not even the case with rock and rollers. It's just more like, everyone who's buying records right now weren't alive when you were in your heyday, so we're just going to move on to something else. And I feel like that's the position Eric Clapton was in the 80s. When the synths were everywhere, the techno was in, the MTV was everywhere, and he's like, you guys want to hear an old blues cover? And everyone's like, no, we've heard enough of those over the years, and nobody wants to hear that right now. So you're kind of at the whims of the record industry people who deal with you.
Yeah. And it really seems like this was the case for this record because, like you said, for as talented as he was, for the legend that he had built for himself, by this point in time, I guess Money and Cigarettes, his album before this, really didn't do that well commercially. And so the record company just said, you need to retool this thing to present something that is a little more current, something that the kids want to buy.
Something for the children. Yeah, no, and it's true because Money and Cigarettes didn't really go anywhere. His 1983 album, it was his first on Warner Brothers. And he's sober, I guess, at this point.
That's what it seems like, yeah.
Yeah, but, he had a song off there, I've Got a Rock and Roll Heart, that I guess was a minor hit. It's not one that has made it into, like, classic rock staples, a playlist and stuff like that. It wasn't on Crossroads, his 4-disc compilation that would come out just a few years after Behind the Sun. And it's just, it wasn't really going anywhere. Plus, it's like you're kind of you're putting your guitar towards the back a little bit and you're trying to push more like your lyrics or your singing anyway. It's like, well, it's not that he's a terrible singer. I actually think he's a pretty darn good singer for being as reluctant as he was to do it for so long. Yeah. And he sings those kind of blues songs pretty well. I mean, when he's an 18-year-old white boy, he doesn't know anything about the blues. But by the time he got to this point, he has loved and lost and gotten caught up in some things that would make you say, hey, you know what? He's earned the right to sing the blues. And I think he's actually pretty good at it.
That is a weird concept, though. Hey, I'm going to put a record out. Oh, okay. But it's not going to showcase my guitar playing. All right. So what are we doing here?
Well, exactly. You're going to be a super pop star all of a sudden at 41, without this great singing voice. Yeah, I don't know.
So the other thing is, I mean, you were talking about the record company. He's got his own record. It's not a label, but it's a division. It's a something called Duck Records. But it's just interesting to me that he has this thing that he's associated with, but yet he's still at the whim of Atlantic Records. They can still tell him, you know what? No, we're not accepting this thing. It's like, your report in the 5th grade when you come back and say, this is like a D, go back and try harder.
Well, yeah, it was Warner Brothers, actually. I mean,
Warner Brothers.
Yeah, it was his first album with Warner's was Money and Cigarettes. It did not even go gold in the U.S. It had that Rock and Roll Heart song, but that came out in like 1983 when like Duran Duran and Men at Work and Michael Jackson and Def Leppard were killing it. And it's this kind of slow, I've got a rock and roll. It didn't fit in. So this time he employs Phil Collins. Yes, Phil Collins, to come in and produce his record. Now, of course, Clapton, as we spoke about last year, did tour with Roger Waters on his Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking tour. Our buddy Lee Dickson came on and gave us a little bit of background on kind of what the story was with this tour and what was going on. And apparently Clapton may have been clean, but I don't think anyone on the road crew was, from what our boy says there. But that's a story for another day.
Allegedly, yes.
At least there are a few solos on this. I just can't believe that. And another thing Lee Dickson said last year that struck me as odd, and then I realized he was right, is that he's not a prolific songwriter, Eric Clapton. I'm like, well, yeah, he is. Over the last 60 years, he's written tons of songs. And while that may be correct, he's collaborated with a lot of people on a lot of those songs. And he's also, if you look at the credits on a lot of that stuff, he brings a lot of people in to help him write songs. Now, he did write, I think, more than half the songs on this record, but that means about half, were from other people. But some of that is at the behest of Warner's, because even though he had a lot of fun, apparently, making the record, there's some stuff going on. First of all, he and Patty Boyd are starting to really realize, we probably ought to break up, which is fueling some of his writing. And, tough times beget great art. So it's like, okay, sorry about your marriage to George Harrison's ex-wife who you stole, but hey, at least we'll get some good blues out of it, right?
Right. And then, but your other problem too is that you don't have your old friends anymore to come and help you. Or at least that's the way it seems like. You figure, oh, I'm feeling bad. I'm going to have a drink. I'm going to have, whatever. And now you've taken that away from you. This is not, even though, like you said, he had a pleasant experience making this record. I'm guessing that Clapton as a person, this was a tough time for him.
Probably so, especially if you're trying to be sober and
correct,
getting pressure from a record company,
and your personal life is going down the toilet to this woman who I got to do a little more research on, Patty Boy, because she must have been something special to drive everybody out of their mind.
Well, I think she just was a lot like the men she hung out with. And because they wanted to be with other people, she wanted to too. And who's to say she can't? She's a model. It was the swinging 60s and then the free 70s. And why not? Yeah, my wife read her autobiography. She's like, this is fascinating. Do you want to read it? I'm like, no, Patty Boy can't play guitar. Who cares?
I'll read about her and other things.
Exactly. It's that's not the story I'm looking for, But so Phil Collins has been pretty busy here, right? Because he done the 83 Genesis tour and album, and he was getting his own record together, No Jacket Required, for a little bit later in 85, but through 84, he's helping Clapton. And I think he even toured with him a little bit. So he's helping Clapton do this. And then what happens is they come up with maybe a dozen or so songs. And it's kind of with him and his buddies, Donald Duck Dunn, who's, the bass player from Booker T and the MGs. He's on the bass and helping him put stuff together. And Lee Dickson, by the way, said, great guy, funny guy. And of course, he's kind of the right-hand man of Steve Cropper. He's the bass player in the Blues Brothers right next to Steve Cropper. Chris Stainton on the keyboards and the organs and stuff. I've seen him play with Chris. Chris has been in and out of his band for like 45 years or something like that. That's his buddy. Phil Collins does play some drums on here, but he also plays some electronic drums, which you know how I feel about that for the most part. But also Jamie Oldacre, who'd been with him, in and out of his band, and, a Tulsa guy. He was with Bob Seger for a while in the 70s, and he was asked to be in 461 Ocean Boulevard, but eventually, he's worked with a lot of people. He's on the drums there. And then he's got a couple of ladies who really are prominent on this. Marcy Levy, who was also known as Marcella Detroit, but she helped him write.
It was Lay Down Sally.
It was Lay Down. I was going to say, it's not Wonderful Tonight. It's Lay Down Sally. Yeah. And Sean Murphy. And they're in the videos. You can see them. They're Foxy Singer ladies. So they get through all of that. Plus, a lot of the songs you'll hear on the album, plus a lot of B-sides and stuff that just didn't make it. They send it to Warner's and they're like, no. This is not good enough. The last album didn't sell and we need some more hits. So they hook him up with this guy, Jerry Lynn Williams, a guy from Texas. And he's written for, Robert Plant and B.B. King and Stevie Ray Vaughan and Bonnie Raitt. But I feel like this is the first time he was kind of on the scene with someone who we would know. And after he wrote a few on this one, he contributed down the line, stuff from Journeyman and some other stuff. They kind of forced him, hey, you got to record some of these songs, and you're going to do it in L.A. with the musicians that we choose, not just your buddies.
Yeah.
Who just say, oh, yeah, that was great, Eric. Thanks a lot. No, they're going to force them to use their guys. Now, when I say force them, he got some of the greatest in the business, right? He got Steve Lukather of Toto fame playing guitar on a couple tracks. Lindsey Buckingham playing guitar on the fifth track, better known as Something's Happening, one of the three songs that Jerry Lynn wrote. He wrote See What Love Can Do, Something's Happening, and Forever Man that ended up on the record, all of them under 4 minutes long. He got Nathan East, one of the greatest bass players ever, most prolific. He's been on like 5,000 records. He was in Foreplay. I saw him with Eric Clapton on the Journeyman tour. Like I said, Greg Fillinganes, who I just saw a year ago playing in Toto. Jeff Porcaro on the drums on a couple of songs of Toto fame, but really he was just like the studio go-to drummer for everybody. Like he was just so awesome. Lenny Castro on the congas, not to be confused with Pepe Castro. And Jerry Lynn came in to back up some too. But Ted Templeman, legendary producer of Van Halen and I guess to some extent the Doobie Brothers. He produced these sessions. He produced these songs along with Larry Warrenker from Warner. And he even ends up on, Tambourine or a couple things on a couple of these songs. So it's kind of a tale of two records. The stuff they did in England with his crew, or Montserrat anyway. And then some that they did in Los Angeles and North Hollywood with these other folks. So it was like the record company's like, look, we paid money to have Eric Clapton. we need some hits. And he's like, fine, just give me good ones. And he liked the stuff that Jerry Lynn Williams made. So he's like, okay, yeah, fine. And yeah, I mean, 2 of the 3 singles released were the ones that Jerry wrote. Now, here it is. Here's the, it sold 1 million copies in the U.S., only about maybe 100,000 in the UK. I'm one of the suckers who bought it because of course, it's a great story about Crossroads. I had to have Crossroads when it came out, right? We've talked about it on the show before. It's a 4 CD set. That's $60. What 15-year-old has $60 laying around? I don't. So I have to kind of convince my dad, look, I'll put in 30, you put in 30. You've got the great sound system, and we can listen to all this together. And for anybody who says you conned your dad out because then you took them all with you, A, you keep the set together, you don't break it up. B, I just moved my father from Florida back up here, and his CDs are all like touching each other and all scratched up, and they're all in horrible shape. And it's like, why would I ever give you a CD? Not to mention, once I got a good burner, I did burn him the whole thing and make him the whole set for himself. I'm sure he never listened to it. I'm sure they're all scratched up. So I did the right thing. I did the right thing for the world.
You knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, and I took all that knowledge and I used that in the creation and production of this show. So I'm a good person.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, yes, it went gold. It went platinum maybe in the U.S., but it only went to 34 in the Billboard charts, where it went up to number 8 in the U.K., but I feel like it faded pretty quickly. And the first single, Forever Man, didn't really chart that high in England. So he's kind of focusing himself, and I think Warner's also is focusing him on the American audience. But this was released March 11th, 1985, and is over 50 minutes long. And yes, some of these are a little long. They could be cut down. We'll get into this. But do you remember the Forever Man or She's Waiting songs or videos from like 1985?
Yeah, I definitely remember the Forever Man video. It's where they've got it in the production stage deal where he's standing on a little stage above everybody else. I remember, I can't tell you, I mean, I knew the name Eric Clapton and like, oh yeah, I think he was a big time rock star coming back for this deal. Cause I didn't remember Money and Cigarettes at all, but I just remember how cool he looked in that coat.
Oh, yeah.
Playing the guitar, I'm like, yeah, that's a rock star right there.
Yeah, and not too long after this, The Color of Money came out, and he did the song It's in the Way That You Use It. I think people in Hollywood started to think, okay, maybe he's not like an arena filler writing hit songs, but he can write some good songs for a movie soundtrack, right? Or they can appear in the movie. And some of the songs from this session did end up in movies. We'll get into that here a little bit later. But it's been a while since I looked at the booklet here for Behind the Sun. And it's pretty basic kind of 80s, booklet. It shows the songs and then who played on all of them and things like that. And then there's one back page. You'll see a little bit of that. There's a picture of EC.
Oh, right.
Kind of against the rural backdrop there. And then there's like a page of credits and notes. The picture, the photo, is by Patti Clapton, not Patty Boyd.
Interesting. All
Patti
right.
Clapton. Yes, I thought that was interesting. And then they just kind of talk about how most of the songs are Phil Collins produced, engineered by Nick Launay at Montserrat in the West Indies. However, anything with a star on it, those 3, produced by Ted Templeman and Larry Warrenker, and the places in L.A. and Hollywood where they did it. In the special thanks, you've got thanks to Yvonne and the Antelopes of Desire. I don't know what that means, but it's probably some kind of code for drugs or something. But maybe not, but maybe. Who else is on there? Lee Dickson's on there, guest of the show.
Oh, nice.
Jeff Banks, Gordon Sumner, better known as Sting, Desmond and Franklin. Steve Lukather and Jeff Porcaro appear of Columbia. Phil Collins appears courtesy of Atlantic. Lindsey Buckingham appears courtesy of Elektra Asylum. It's just so funny to see him. He's not that old. I mean, he's about 40, 41. So 40 years have passed since he made this. He was a little old then. Well, geez, he's very old now.
It's funny to think 41 is old, but I mean, in this game at this time, yeah, he was ancient.
I mean, even when I was 19 or, when you were a teenager, like, 40's so old. Even then, I didn't think 40 was that old because I'm like, yeah, it's older than me and I've got a long way before I get there. But 40's not that old. People are playing sports at 40. People are like getting remarried to people half their age at 40. Everyone's working really hard. At 40, 40's not that old. 50's old. And as someone on the other side of 50, I was right about that.
You're reminded of that every day.
Every day. Every single day. So he's got an incredible amount of talent on this record. I mean, Ray Cooper, his buddy, did percussion on a bunch of, on several of the songs. Having those two bass players alone, Donald Duck Dunn and Nathan East, that's huge, So all sorts of talent, you got to believe that this would have been a hit. And hey, if it went platinum after the last one didn't, well, it was. But it's not a rousing success.
Yeah. It's interesting that there's only a couple of singles on this, right? He had 1, 2, 3, and She's Waiting was UK only.
Right.
It's interesting to me that you make him go back and do this, re-record some stuff, put some new tracks on here with professional songwriters, and you only release 3 singles and really just 2.
Well, right. But I mean, it's still a pretty big success for him. I mean, going platinum is a pretty big deal. Although Journeyman would come out and go double platinum, but that's not for like another 5 years from then. Mm-hmm. And, or, at least 4, but it's about 5 years. And although I think Crossroads was big, August, the album that he did in 1986, that didn't do very well. I think it went gold. I think it has some good songs on it, and it's in the way they use it from The Color of Money was on there.
Right.
It had a couple other good ones on there that just weren't big hits, but it's like, yeah, we all think he's over, and then somehow with Journeyman, thanks to Crossroads 2, he can come back.
Yeah, this was that weird in-between time, right before the classic rock revival, when, yeah, he was over. This was it. Nobody wanted to listen to this anymore, and then the worm just turned. I think it was Pink Floyd's Momentary Lapse of Reason that and that tour that reignited all of this. But yeah, at this point in time, nobody wanted to hear from him on the pop circuit.
Hi, this is Jim McCarthy of the Yardbirds, and you're listening to the Ugly American Werewolf in London.
So let's go ahead and jump into this, because I got to tell you, as much as I love Eric Clapton and the fact that I own the record, I don't love the record. There are bright spots. There's always going to be some good stuff on here, but overall, as far as the whole thing goes, I don't know. I don't know about this one.
Okay, so let's get into it then.
So let's do it. They start off with She's Waiting. Big fat riff. It was on Crossroads.
Definitely any track from this that was on Crossroads definitely had a leg up, because we listened to that quite a bit.
Quite a bit, yes. He wrote it with Peter Robinson, and Peter Robinson, he's the kind of guy who wrote songs for a lot of people, worked with Mike Rutherford and Carly Simon, Steelers Wheel, featuring Jerry Rafferty, even Andrew Lloyd Webber and the Hollies and people like that. So he had a long career. They wrote She's Waiting. This is so synth and so 80s. And the solo in the middle is not amazing.
It just kind of plods along. I
know.
Okay, got it.
I mean, and Peter, he played on 7 different tracks on these synths, so he is a good composer and arranger, writer and stuff like that. But I don't know. I mean, I like the video. I like the big riff. Apparently, he did play this at Live Aid.
Yes, he did.
First, before he played like Layla and White Room or whatever. So, I mean, that gives it some more clout there, but it didn't chart. It didn't chart in the UK. It didn't chart in the US. I mean, I think it was only released as a single in the UK, but they made that big fat video about it. I don't know. I like it, but it sounds like he's warning himself about Patty.
That's what I was going to say, is that, we listen to this a ton of times. It does have that kind of cool beginning to it, and then the drums drop in, and you're listening to it, and I never really paid attention to what he was saying, but now going back and listening to it now and understanding where he was in his life, this is about his wife. It has to be. She's waiting for another lover, finally finding a stronger love. She's moving on with her life, but then did you not maybe treat her the best? So it kind of seems like he's lamenting this relationship that is now just completely falling apart.
She's been waiting for another love, someone that she can show into her heart. And when she's finally found a stronger love, your whole world's gonna fall apart. She's waiting for another love.
Yeah, and the lyrics are fairly good here, but of course I misunderstood some as a younger man. She's been waiting for another love, someone that she can show into her heart. I thought it was shove into her heart, to be honest with you.
That sounds painful.
Someone she can shove into her heart.
Get in there.
And when she finally finds a stronger love, your whole world's going to fall apart.
Right. Yeah.
You've been abusing her for far too long. Think you're a king and she's your pawn. Get ready now, because pretty soon she'll be gone and you'll be on your own. So
Yeah.
yeah, you realize. So it may have been like a good recording session for him, and it's great to be with Phil and Duck and a lot of his buddies, but his marriage is falling apart, and that can never be, even if you're ready to move on, it doesn't matter. You were madly in love with this person. You had to steal her away from your best friend because you loved her so much, and now it's running its course, and she's got offers. She's got other stuff she can do. She doesn't have to sit around saying, I hope he comes home tonight. She didn't have to do that at all.
Right. And then let's face it, neither did Clapton. I mean, he still had some star power left at this point in time. But just the idea that, this thing is, your whole world is going to fall apart, as he says. That's got to be traumatic.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. And then there's at the end, there's all those like whistle sounding things, and the girls are all singing together. It's likely synths.
I don't know what that is, but it disintegrates into something else. Like I even wrote down, like, what is that, a fife?
Yeah.
Because he's got like that military drumming too.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
that's a good call.
It is kind of cool at the end when you kind of pay attention to that. I don't know. Are you trying to say that it's, you're marching away? I don't know what's happening there. It is kind of a cool little out, though.
Yeah, I agree. It's weird. It's different. But yeah, the march is exactly what it is. And I guess that's Phil on the drums doing that. So, and it's a big song. It's not a fast one, but those big riffs and his voice the vocal power I feel like he shows on this is pretty strong, actually.
And you mentioned the Live Aid performance. I did see a clip of that, and he sounds really good on this track. And to see they kind of show you the band, and then they kind of cut to the crowd, back to the band. But then at the end, they pull to an aerial shot of RFK Stadium, and it's
massive.
Packed.
Yeah.
Like there isn't 1 square inch of space that isn't taken up. It's all the stands, the entire field. You could not have fit another person in that. I can't imagine what that was like to come out to. I mean, you've played big arenas before, but to see 100,000+ people standing there, and you're on this tiny little stage.
Yeah. Well, maybe
But
someone will do a show about that one day.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, fingers crossed. He sounds great. The band looks good. The backup singers are amazing on that track. And it just shows that his voice, I think he's underrated as a singer.
Yeah, I mean, it took him a while to come to it, but no, I do think he has a strong voice, and he uses it on this one. Yeah, absolutely. Now, the next song, Come See What Love Can Do. This is a Jerry Lynn Williams, right? It was the second single. It did not chart anywhere. It's also very synthed out. And this is the thing. Like, this is a blues legend, and there are all these 80s synths all over this thing. It's like, how does the blues mesh with this new, not only technology, but trend in the music industry? The solo was once again weak on this one. It kind of has an island vibe to it.
Yeah.
But he's just being a crooner who also plays guitar, not a guitar player who sings.
Yeah, and once you learn that he didn't write this song, it starts to sound more and more generic to me. Like, you say, oh, that's Eric Clapton. Was it? I mean, that could have been, it could have been a couple other people. There's kind of no heart to this thing.
That's my last note. And this is generic. That's it. I can't believe this is the second song on the album or the second single. There's nothing very Eric Clapton about it.
Yeah.
The lyrics are pretty cheesy and don't really say much. I mean, And look, and he wrote 4 songs for Clapton. One of them is like a B-side or didn't make the album. And I'm like, and this is the second best one, because he wrote Forever Man. I'm like, this is the second best one? I'm not so sure it is.
But I think that goes to the kind of song that or the kind of songwriter that you are. Are you writing something that you're feeling about personally, like She's Waiting? Or is it just like, oh yeah, you want a song here? I wrote this song. Anybody can sing this song. It could be 10 other people here. Go ahead and do it. So yeah, it's cheesy. It's generic. This doesn't really do anything for me.
When the words are in the music is the song. The world would be so happy if we'd all just get along. I want to see it. A smile on every face. What the actual... That's bad. I can't believe you're a professional songwriter writing that crap. That is a joke, dude. Bad.
Yeah, it's just generic. It's just like you just wasted 4 minutes of my life.
Yeah, I can't get those back. So then we go into Same Old Blues. It's like, okay, Same Old Blues. He's back with a blues song. I'm ready for this. How long is it? It's 8 minutes? It's 8 minutes? You're not a prog artist. You're not going through different sweeping time changes and stuff. And it's just an old blues song with synths.
Yes. This sounds very strange. This sounds to me like he came to the recording studio with this and they're like, we need to jazz this up a little bit. You know what would be great? Synths.
I'm sorry, baby, but I can't afford to stay. Your good kind treatment will worry me someday. I love you, baby, but I'm...
Let's put them all over it, I mean, and then the lyrics. I'm sorry, baby, but I can't afford to stay. Your good kind treatment will worry me someday. I love you, baby, but I'm going to have to say goodbye. Woman, I got to move. I really got to fly. Okay, that sounds like a blues song to me. I miss you already, more than words can say. Seems like I've been gone 24 hours, more like a million days. Love you, baby. I wouldn't tell you no lies. If you don't believe I love you, look at the tears standing in my eyes. Okay, but it's 8 minutes. It's 8 minutes, and there's some burning guitar through it, but it's so slow. Even for a blues number, this is really slow.
Yeah. My note is this is a bed for him to just wail away on the guitar. Like he could be saying anything, and that the underneath part is just kind of a program generic deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eight is a little, that's a little much.
Out of a 50-minute album.
Yeah.
8 minutes. Crazy. And with 3 or so minutes left, he does start to do some real wailing on that thing. So I'm like, okay, here's some, but it's just, it seems like it was just kind of thrown together for me. I don't know. I don't feel like Phil overproduced this one.
Yeah, it's
who just had his birthday yesterday, by the way, as we're recording this. He's 74 years old.
Phil is? Well, happy birthday, Phil. Yeah, it just sounds like, I want to play the blues. Okay, just go ahead and do that, and go ahead and do that, and we'll build something around it.
Probably so. Yeah, well, all right. We've already spent too much time on that 8-minute song. Good Lord. But now here's another weird one. Knock on Wood.
All right.
Baby. Ooh. Now, we all know that version of it, that Eddie Floyd and Steve, the Colonel Cropper, wrote that together, right?
Correct.
Wrote it for Eddie Floyd's album in the 60s, and it did fine. It's a fairly good song.
Yeah.
But it's Amy Stewart in 1979, the disco version that we know.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. Now, for Eddie, it went to 28 on Billboard in the U.S., but it went to number 1 in R&B singles back in 1966. Otis Redding did a version of it the next year, and David Bowie eventually did a version of it, which I'm sure everyone thinks is brilliant because it's Bowie. But Amy with Two Eyes Stewart did it in 79, the disco version, and it went to number one. Number one.
Wow. Oh, right.
In the U.S. Number one on the Hot 100. Number one. And top 10 around the world. Number one in Canada. Sold 2 million copies on its own. Pretty impressive, one would say.
But then the question would be is why did you think you had to include it on this record?
Exactly. And so my only thought was that maybe it was something they would jam to. Because if Steve Cropper did it, that means Duck Dunn recorded it with him back in the day.
Probably, yeah.
And so Duck maybe said, do this, and they start playing around with it, and he probably knows the words so he can sing it. That's what I said. The question is, it was a worldwide hit, the disco version, but why did he do it? Is it because of Duck Dunn? That's my note.
Yeah, it had to be something like that because it doesn't really seem like it makes sense on this record. No. I saw Steve Cropper's name on there, and so then I went to look to see if he'd done any work on this record, and the answer is no. But so I was a little disappointed because you always like to see Steve and Duck perform together.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it just seems odd. It just seems like an odd choice of any. I mean, you could cover any song that you wanted to. This is kind of a dull version, is what I have. Like you're just kind of going through the motions.
Yeah, there's synths. The synths and electric drums take the soul out of a soul song, basically. His voice is fine on it. He sings his voice is good, but the music is thin. Now, I do like the bass, but that's because the guy who wrote the bass is playing the bass. And so it's like, God, this is a skip if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
So then you move into Something's Happening. Now, this is the second Jerry Lynn Williams album, song on the album that they kind of forced him to take. And once again, the lyrics are generic, dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, everything about this song is generic.
And again, it has some kind of like island tinge to it.
Yeah.
And I'd say, well, that's because they did it in Montserrat. No, I'm like, no, the Jerry Lynn stuff, they did like North Hollywood in LA. So that's not why. And I just put, ugh, I don't like this. So dated.
And I think like the other song that he'd done before, this could have been anybody. Like it's just there's no Clapton soul to this. It's just it could have been 100 other people. It could have been somebody you never heard of before. This is just a filler piece on this. I would have liked to have heard the original version of this record because it can't be worse than this.
Well, his solos are not really inspired. They're just to match the song.
Yeah, I just put generic. It's just generic. Okay, do a solo. All right.
My last note was fade out solo isn't horrible, but the song is. It's horrible. I can't believe they're like, okay, this guy's got great songs. We need.
Yeah, this is going to put us over the top.
Except that the next song, Forever Man, is by Jerry Lynn Williams, and it's a big hit for him.
Right. But my question is, why is it a big hit?
Because of the rhythm, because of the guitar solo?
Yes, because to me it's because of the guitar solo. The rest of the song is kind of like, it's okay, but when he starts wailing on that thing, now here we go. This is what we're here for.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I always liked it. And the video with him kind of on the raised circular platform.
It's like smoky, and he just looks cool as hell. And I think it's interesting that technically Nathan East played on the track, but in the video
it's Duck. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Who always looks exactly
smoking
the same.
a pipe, or something.
Always looks exactly the same. He's got the afro. He's got the bass at exactly the same
spot.
Same spot. Yeah, you just know him by across the room there.
Yeah, he seems like a great guy, but he also seems like the guy. If you messed with him, he would punch you in the face. And
Yes.
he's got those big, fat bassist hands that would really knock you out. Actually, Godley and Cream directed this video, who were in charge of all sorts of videos back in the day, including Don't Cry by Asia.
Uh-huh.
The video actually featured a falling camera rig, which wasn't supposed to happen, but because it did happen and they captured it on film, they decided to kind of let's just keep it in there. You know?
We meant to do that.
But the girls, Sean and Marcy, look hot and they sound great. I don't know. I always liked it. And it went to #1 U.S. mainstream rock. That's a big deal for him. That's a huge deal. Only 26 on Billboard and 51 in the UK. So it never got on top of the pops or anything like that. But it sold a couple 100,000 in the US and over 500,000 worldwide. So that's a big, big deal with him. It was backed with the song Too Bad, and it was released February 22nd, 1985, as the opening single ahead of its release on March 11th, as far as the album is concerned.
Try to be your poor little man.
If you go look at Clapton and Woodwood at Madison Square Garden, they play this one because Steve described it. He said, when we decided to get together, they said, we'll open up both of our catalogs, right? And we can go through and do anything from each other's catalogs. And Eric's catalog is much deeper. There's a lot more in there than mine. But Steve, plucked out Forever Man. He's like, I like this one.
Huh. Okay.
And they did kind of sing it as a duet, but I thought that Steve's singing on it was pretty outstanding. And I did see them play it live on tour as well. And it was an amazing tour to see those two legends together, not only doing the Blind Faith stuff, but like you said, let's play off of each other and do each other's stuff. And it kind of gave it a little new life because it was a hit in 85 and then it just went away. It's not one that he continued to play for a long time, but they dusted off and breathed some new life into it. I'm like, you know what? That was a good song back in 85, wasn't it?
You wonder why that fell off too, because it was a pretty big hit. They kind of put him back on the map. Maybe because it wasn't one of his. Who knows?
Maybe. And but he's got so much stuff that people want to hear from pre-1980. That, those are the big hits, right? The Cream and the Derek and the Dominoes and the Wonderful and all that kind of stuff. That's what people really want to hear, I guess. I don't know. Plus, he's always circling or recycling different blues stuff, whether it's from his latest album or the one 3 albums ago or the 115 albums ago.
Well, that's what Lee said when we were talking to him. If you ask Clapton, well, what do you want to do? It's like, well, I don't know. Maybe we could do old blues stuff. Yeah. It's what he always comes back to.
It is. He always keeps coming back. He experiments with other things, whether it's reggae or country or folk or whatever. He always comes back to the blues.
I'm George Capitalis. This is my good brother, Terry Reed.
Right.
And you're listening to The Ugly American Werewolf in London.
In London, right.
Now, okay, so that's a highlight.
Yes.
So we get to second. I honestly, I don't even know where the second side is. I assume it starts with Forever Man, but I could be wrong about that. We move on to It All Depends.
Okay.
Clapton, right? Is that an organ?
That's what it sounds like, yes.
Is he trying to go gospel?
He's getting serious now.
Do you think this one's about Patty?
Could be, yeah, because, he's talking about observing somebody interacting with other people. And, he's so you think you're something special now is the lyric. Yeah, this definitely could be about her.
But it could also be about some other girl that he's macking on because, I've seen you with your other girlfriends. I can tell they really think you're fine. And I've seen you with your other men friends. They don't know if you're a love of mine. So maybe that's Patty, maybe not.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But it's also pretty repetitive. It all depends on how you feel, baby. I've got to know just how you feel, baby. It all depends on how you feel, baby. Like, it's okay. So you think you're something special. Well, is it your wife that you stole away from a guy in the biggest band in the history of the world special. So that's why I assume it's about someone else, but I don't know. It's hard to know for sure. It's so 80s.
Yeah.
And I don't even notice his guitar on this track.
I've got solo is light, but it follows along with the beat. It's just, you're just playing what the rest of the song is, or playing to the rest of the song.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing there. I mean,
Yeah.
It's just not much to it. I can imagine him being with Phil, and Phil's this like super positive guy, and he's with his buddies like Chris Stainton and Duck Dunn, and people are around him say, yeah, Eric, let's jam. And so he jams and starts to come up with some of this stuff, and then he writes out some of the lyrics like, hey, that makes sense. It rhymes. Okay. This is a good song, right? Oh, it's great, Eric. You look great, bud. And this is why Warner said, you know what? We need to write you a few more songs.
Yeah. While we like what you're doing, but
we're
maybe
not so sure it's going to get us where we want to go.
Right. The kids don't understand what's going on now, Eric. To play to a different audience.
Yeah. So it all depends on if I want to stop the CD or just, turn the volume down and have it be background music. That's what it depends on.
How you feel, baby? I've got to know how you feel, baby. It all depends on how you feel, baby. I've got to know how you feel, baby.
We're going to move straight on to Tangled in Love.
Yeah.
This is one that Marcy wrote with her writing partner, Richard Feldman. Yes, she co-wrote Lay Down Sally, as we mentioned earlier, and he wrote for other people like the Pointer Sisters and produced Belinda Carlisle and others, won a Grammy. And my first question is, is this an Eric Clapton song?
Yeah. Or your first question could have been, why? Why did you do this? It's another professional songwriter deal, and this could be anybody. Again, this is song I think number 3 where we're saying this could have been 10, 15, 20 other people at this time.
I mean, at least it's upbeat, but it's pretty techno, and again, it's very mid 80s. You hear it and you're like, oh, this is recorded in 84 or so. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Now I'll give him some kudos on his singing, but again, the guitar is low in the mix and it isn't doing a whole lot.
Yeah, I just have short on here. It kind of comes and goes real quick. This is not what we're here for.
No, it sounds like a cheesy 80s movie song. Like maybe like while the credits are rolling or something like that. Not good. Now we get to Never Make You Cry. Now this is one that Clapton wrote with Phil.
Yeah.
And it's another slow one. And I won't say it's bad, but it is slow and sappy.
And he's got that low singing voice in this one. Yeah.
And it goes on for 6 minutes. Yeah. 6 minutes.
Remember when you said you'd never make me cry? You're kind of making me cry right now, Eric.
I'll never make you cry. I'll never ever say goodbye. Can't you see it in my eye? Oh my God. Crap.
It's just sappy.
Crap. And it's pretty, I guess. Like it's a pretty song, but that's not what I'm looking for. Dude.
And it doesn't really fit into anything that you've done before either. Like that's I think one of my biggest criticisms of this record is it just sounds like you threw a whole bunch of stuff in a bowl, mixed it around, and then just threw it at me. It's not there's no rhyme or reason to why you did any of these songs.
Well, you're not the only one to think that, man, because like Rolling Stone said it was slick but inconsistent.
Okay.
And they were worried that, he's moving into commercial ballads and that would eventually see him, playing his greatest hits on the Vegas rock circuit in a review. Robert Christgau in The Village Voice, who shits on everything, described it as sad and also bad. And he's simply following the commercial market. He's not trying to do anything new or even say, I'm sticking to the blues. And this is what it is. All Music called it somewhat schizophrenic.
Right. Interesting.
hold your hand and close my eyes. It's here I'm staying all of my life. I'll never ever make you cry. I'll never ever say goodbye. Can't you see?
Effective guitar work. It's competent, but it's not among his best. So people were not that enamored of it, nor should they have been, in my opinion. Now, Just a Prisoner, 10th song on the album of Clapton right now. This is definitely about Patty. It is slow, but it is better.
This is definitely the bright spot in this. I had not heard this song before. This is it's dark, but I like it. It's very raw. And yeah, you can tell this is somebody he's not in a good place on this one. And you've got that cool, real simple bass riff that anchors the whole thing. And then he gets to wail on top of it and just tell you, yeah, I'm not in a good spot in my relationship life.
Yeah, I mean, this is good. I mean, bold vocals, big bright synths, and you can hear the guitar.
Yeah.
You can hear it. And my favorite note that I made is, I at least believe him. Like, I believe what he's singing to me.
Okay.
Mostly on this album, I don't.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's not from the heart, but
Yeah.
this is.
Yeah.
And he's letting loose on the guitar. I mean, he's letting it go on this one.
I think there are two specific drum parts on this record, like a left and a right. You've got both Collins and what is his name, Odeker, Jamie Odeker, playing at the same time. So yeah, because I was kind of listening to it, and then I saw him do the She's Waiting, and they're both playing the drums.
Okay.
They got two drum kits, and then he said something about like, the left and right on this track. If I listen, yeah, you can hear it. I just think that's an interesting concept to have two separate pieces going at the same time. I really like this song. I think he's crying out for something on this thing, just to be heard. And yeah, my big pet peeve about this is it just ends. Like the song, like they just cut him off.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I can feel the emotion coming through his guitar on this.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, where has this been? Where has this been throughout the rest of the album?
So was there more of this, and they just said this isn't commercially viable? So here's some light poppy stuff you can play.
I don't know. But this is good.
Yeah,
it's emotional. It's real. It's got good guitar on it. You know, you believe him when he said, "That's why you'll never know how I feel."
Yeah. Had you heard this song before, or were you familiar with this one?
Even though I own the album, I didn't remember this song because I feel like as soon as you put me through It All Depends and Tangled in Love and Never Make You Cry, I'm like, okay, let's put on something else.
Yeah. I think we're done with this. But this is why we do this, because you're slogging through this other stuff, and then you get to a track like this. Why have I never heard this? It's good. I would listen to it on its own.
Yes.
Yeah, I really, this definitely brought this whole thing back for me. You were losing me, and then you brought me back.
That's right. It's like, okay, yeah, that's great. You got me. All right. And then the last song, Behind the Sun, it's this 2-minute, not even really a finished thing. It's just him and his guitar about, kind of lamenting about losing Patty, plus Collins on synths. It's a sad 2-minute closer. It's not even really a song.
Yeah, this one's pretty brutal because that's exactly what it is. He's not feeling it. He knows this thing is over. I know they said that there was something about they were thinking about a trial separation. Yeah, no, we're not trying anything. This is it. It's done.
Right. It's run its course, and that's what happens when we both have options and we've grown apart.
Right.
That's just part of life. But it's kind of when we finally got to Just a Prisoner, I'm like, okay, this is real Clapton. This is real emotion. And then they give you this kind of little bummer to send you off down the road.
And we're done.
Since you left, the darkness has begun. Smile like you used to shine on me. Another
Now, here's the thing. There are other songs for the album that didn't make it, obviously, because you're always going to make at least 10 or 12 or 14 because you need some B-sides and all that kind of stuff. And they forced him to take these 4 Jerry Lynn Williams songs. Mm-hmm. Loving Your Lovin' was the 4th Jerry Williams song, and it ended up on the Wayne's World soundtrack. Okay. Years later. They used a bit of the music in the film, I feel like, when they're traveling from one place to another. They didn't really use his singing or vocals in it. It was just some of the music. All right. To kind of transition.
I don't remember. I mean, I heard this. I listened to the song. I don't remember it. Truthfully, it's been a minute since I've seen Wayne's World. I didn't remember it, but okay.
But it made it on the soundtrack, and the soundtrack did well because the movie did well. Heaven is One Step Away was on the Back to the Future soundtrack. Now, again, this is Hollywood embracing Clapton, like, okay, he's maybe not super hot hit maker MTV, but he can still make music that's relevant to put in a movie. And it was on Crossroads, so we knew this one.
Right. Yeah. And this was this is an interesting song, a little bit of an island beat on this one, you know, kind of a goofy little song. It's in Back to the Future, but it's 1 second of it, and it could have been anything. Like, it doesn't play an integral part in the
it's basically when Marty comes back to 1985.
Right.
He made it, he's psyched, he kind of crashes into, what was the Triple X movie theater or whatever.
Oh, correct, yes.
You know, and then it's kind of on and back, like there's the homeless guys, like crazy drunk drivers, like that's playing on his little handheld radio.
Right. Yeah.
Next to the clock tower. But it is a good song. I mean, it's better than 70 or 80% of the stuff on the album. Should have been on the album.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
We searched all through the night. I couldn't find it. You couldn't find it. I knew something more than right. I couldn't find it. You couldn't find it. When they say heaven is one step away.
Too Bad was the B-side of Forever Man, and it was on Crossroads, but we didn't listen to it a whole lot. Jailbait was the B-side of She's Waiting. It's more upbeat than most of the songs on this album. Of course, you're talking about a girl who looks like she's 16.
Right.
You can't be singing that all the time.
I don't even want to be associated with anything called Jailbait. Thank you.
It's long. It's got some changes. It's not that great, but honestly, there's about 40 seconds in there that would have been perfect for like the opening credits to an 80s sitcom. Right? Like you're showing all like, here's the dad, here's the mom, here's the kids. You know, that's kind of what the music reminded me of. One Jump Ahead of the Storm was never released. I've got the demo and it's kind of unfinished. And then there's another called You Don't Know Like I Know.
All right.
Produced by Phil, and it was released in Australia only. I feel like that means it was a B-side in Australia, like To Forever Man or something like that.
That one's actually, that's interesting because the song is not super exciting, but you can hear Eric and Phil singing different. I mean, you can pick both their voices out. It's just an interesting thing to hear.
Yeah, it is, you know, and honestly, I'd rather have that and Heaven is One Step Away. Mm-hmm. And maybe one of the others on the album. I could easily pick 3 or 4 that it could get rid of.
Yes. It's interesting to me how Heaven is One Step Away was not on the record, but on the box set, and they left a lot of this other stuff off.
Yeah. Some singles they would leave off, but then they would put the B-sides on. Sometimes it's a big hit, it'll be on there. Sometimes they wouldn't. That's just kind of a choice they made. But I do like on box sets that they don't just give you all the hits. They got to give you some deep tracks, some stuff you can't get anywhere else.
Was Just Like a Prisoner on the box set?
No,
then you suck.
I don't believe it was.
No, I kind of feel like if it was, we would have discovered that song.
Well, yeah, that's for sure. So that's it. That's Behind the Sun. It was a big step. I mean, his first ever music video, right? I mean, music videos were being made in the 70s. By 81, everyone had to have one because of MTV. And then he doesn't make his first until 1985, but with Godly and Cream, obviously. And that kind of starts him to be more of a modern rock star instead of just an old guy, a legacy.
A relic, a relic from the 70s, yeah.
And Jerry Lynn Williams did write the Wanna Make Love to You song, which did make it on Crossroads, like at the very, very end, right before the rework of After Midnight.
Yeah, which I love. That's awesome.
But Forever Man wasn't on here. She's Waiting's on here, and Too Bad is on here, and Heaven is One Step Away is on here.
Mm-hmm.
But no Forever Man. It was always kind of interesting to me, but again, I get it. You want to put rarer stuff or, some big hits, but if it's a minor hit, yeah, let's put the
and put the B-side on.
Let's put the B-side on
Yeah,
instead,
it's really more for collectors.
Yeah. And it went triple platinum, which is pretty good for a 4 CD set. So
yeah.
Anyway, look, Clapton is a legend. I love his work. I do think he got a little tired in the last 20 or so years. I mean, he always went back to the blues, but then it just seems like he was just redoing a lot of old blues stuff. But that's okay, because I want to go see him live. The only problem is, live, he played a few of the big 70s and 60s hits, and then he just did all of this blues stuff. And so eventually I kind of stopped going to see him because it's expensive, and I've seen him 7 or 8 times, and I don't want to just see a bunch of blues stuff.
And it's tough now, too, to put out something new, because it's like, no, that's...
Oh, God.
I'm going to do something completely different now. No, nobody wants to hear that.
Besides, he's 80. I mean, he's 80. There's no such thing as an 80-year-old pop star. There's barely such thing as an 80-year-old, I mean, the Stones aren't really trying to do new stuff. They're just regurgitating all those sweet old hits,
Right.
Although
the ones they can still play.
Yeah, and their last album's actually better than anything they've done in about 30, 40 years, whatever it is. But anyway, look, it's not my favorite album. It was a bit of a boost for him. Mm-hmm. It helped him, I feel like, get a foothold on some different things in Hollywood, working on soundtracks and things like that. And obviously going through some pain of losing Patty helped produce some good songs. But I just feel like with all that help from Phil, from Ted Templeman, from all these great artists on there, from the breakup, you would think it would just be better, but maybe there was just too many cooks in the kitchen.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, you pounded on it too hard. You tried to put too many things together, and maybe that's what it was. It lacked any kind of cohesive flow to it. Maybe that was the problem.
Maybe so. You could have just had one like pop hit or two, and then all the rest blues. But you kind of deviated from even that. I feel like you experimented with some stuff that just wasn't great. And again, he's not an incredible songwriter. He might be good at coming up with guitars. I think he's a very good vocalist at this point in his career.
Yeah. If you keep it in his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But maybe he should always have someone help him write songs. I don't know. Well, I hope you liked our take on Behind the Sun at 40, and that you liked hearing from Lee Dickson, longtime Clapton guitar tech, about what it was like in 1985 to make that music with those amazing musicians. And as promised, we've got a little bit more with Lee here for you, not necessarily about Behind the Sun, but about life on the road, about being a guitar tech for one of the greatest guitar players in the world, what he brought to the table, along with some more people who he worked with who were special in their own way.
Wow, when I talk to you guys about this, it brings memories flooding back, and I think about more and more stuff that I got up to, and all the different picks and all the things they said, and what everyone always wants to know. It'll all come out in the book. And again, as I always say on my Rock and Roll Werewolf in London podcast, any fellow lyric writers out there who want to write with me, or someone who wants to help me write this fucking book, give me a shout.
Well, you've already got the one great story about the rose petals on the stage at Live Aid. That's a great thing right there.
And I've never told that story before publicly.
Oh,
I've never
excellent.
told it before. It was just, when Meg had talked to me last week, I've been out in the sun and going on all these real long bus drives, hard gigs outside at my age. So I was too burned out to do it last week, and but I was trying to think along the lines of things that we could talk about, what we can do and what we can get up to and all that kind of stuff. But that was something I've never really revealed. But that was my great moment. I thought, this is gonna, of course I'm out of my mind, aren't I, on the day.
It's gonna look amazing on TV, man.
Yeah. But again, everyone, if they own up, was out of their mind on that day, either on this, that, or the heat, or all three. But I just thought, this is gonna fucking look incredible. Rose petals, man. Yeah, man, this will look great. And everybody's gonna go, wow, look at all these things on the stage. What is that? Because every other stage is just revolved the stage, wires, pedal boards, bits and pieces. This was going to look amazing, and I couldn't believe it. This fucking bunch of stagehands were around like a swarm of hungry locusts, and they were grabbing them up by the handful, stuffing them up. And as I said, there was about 5 or 6 left by the time the bloody stage went round. Another great idea by Dickson gone.
Well, it's a great story.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you. It's, you know, you guys, you know, the few times that I've had the pleasure and the honor to be on this show, you know, your podcasts have been very gracious and let me just kind of cut loose, and they are great stories and they are great stuff, and I'm really, really happy to share it, you know.
Yeah, no, it's what we want to preserve. It's what we want. It's kind of what we do the show. It's anybody could do a show about, well, I like this song because of this, but it's like the history of rock and roll is in these stories and how people get their jobs done under these circumstances when it all looks like, oh, it's so simple to put that together. Just like you said, hey, you just come out and hand them a guitar, right? No, there's a lot of shit that happens.
There's so much preparation in it, and this is a gospel truth on my mother's life. Maybe twice, 3 times in my 30 years with Eric, he'd give me a guitar back and the E had maybe just gone just a little flat, but I'd get, you know, people just watch an Eric Clapton concert, watch other guys, the minute they finish a song they're on the tuner like this, you know, on the foot on the tuner, or any of the solo artists that I tour with, or individual artists, they come out on stage and they go, do a song, and then it's like, yeah, this is one I wrote a long time ago for my girlfriend Jessica when she wouldn't give me a blowjob in the bathtub when I was 17. And you're going, fuck, man, it's so embarrassing. So Eric could never be out of tune. And you watch an Eric Clapton show, he'll play the same guitar and he'll play the fucking shit out of it.
Yes.
For 10 or 12 songs, and that guitar is perfectly
Always
in tune.
was, yeah.
And that's my magic. That's what I bring to the table.
That's beautiful.
Same with my current artist. No one's ever out of tune. And I watch all these other artists, the guys I don't take care of, every song, electric players, acoustic players, fucking tuner. It's just this paranoia. Trust that's what we do. Trust me in what I do. I'm going to give you a guitar. You're going to play it all fucking night, and it's going to be perfect when you give me it back. And it is on my electronic tuner, and that's the gospel truth.
You know, you say that. I went to a show here locally in Jacksonville, and the artist, like, he kept switching the guitars out, like halfway through the tracks. And I looked at my wife and I said, something is wrong here. These things won't stay in tune. Something is off and it just jacked with the whole show.
I change guitars with Gary a lot, because he wants to play a telly for that song. He wants to play a Bigsby with a tremolo for that song.
Right.
He wants to play a drop D tuning on another Bigsby for that song. He wants to play a Les Paul for that song. It ain't nothing to do with the tuning with me. It's because he wants to play different guitars for different songs.
Right. But the show that I'm talking about, this was like during the song, during the track.
Wow, during
yeah,
it.
I'm like, ooh, something is definitely wrong. Yeah.
That's bad. That's a nightmare.
Yeah, and you could tell it was really messing with everything going on, because it just takes you out of it. I understand different tracks, you know, different tunings, different sounds, okay. But during the song, no, something is wrong.
I got to say, there are some guitars, some tremolo systems, you know, wang bar, tremolo, vibrato, everyone's got their own terminology for it, that can, if overly used, you know, knock a guitar out of tune while you're playing it. Not too much, but just enough to be noticeable. There's a system called the Floyd Rose, which all the heavy metal bands, all the Metallica guys, everyone uses Floyd Rose, because you can do what you like with it, and the strings are cut here and locked, and cut here and locked. They're not like set up as normal, so you don't have a problem with that. And Eric never played with vibrato or tremolo. But as I say, 10, 12, 15 songs, you play that Strat, play the shit out of it, and on my mother's life, perfectly in tune with a Con Strobo tuner when I got it back.
That's awesome.
Only I hated changing guitars. We did it during a blues tour, you know, where I had 22 guitars, and we'd use a song for, you know, we'd use a slide Birdland for Elmore James, and then we'd use a high-tuned F for another blues guy, then we'd maybe an open D for an Otis Rush song, and I had to have all these guitars, different songs, different tunings all the time going on. That's when it gets crazy. But most of the time, my life was just, he starts playing, and unless he busts a string, that's the same guitar he's going to hand me back at the end.
All right, Jax, do you have anything else for Lee before we let him go?
I think we're good for now.
Well, finally, good to see you and get a chat to you. You know, I always feel as if you're missing. You know, you're there, but you're not there. So it's nice to see you in the room, so to speak.
Well, thank you. It was excellent to have you.
Thanks again, guys, for letting me rant and rave and do my thing. And,
we love it. We love
to
be
part of your Rock and Roll Werewolf in London broadcast. It's always a pleasure. It's always an honour. And as I said to Mac earlier, sadly, the likes of me are sort of falling by the wayside day by day. So those old stories matter a a lot, and I have them all in my head, thank God.
Yeah.
Again, if someone wants to help me out there with a book, please get in touch with me.
All right. Spread the word.
Absolutely.
Jackson, sincerely, to both of you, it's always a pleasure, and I very rarely get a chance to talk about these things, and I very rarely get a chance to talk to people that appreciate them. Thank you.
Thanks.
You do love them.
Love and peace.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this experiment we did here where we rebooted an episode that we already offered up with some new material this time. And to us, it was very special to have Eric Clapton's guitar tech, Lee Dickson, come on the show and tell us about what's like to make this record. Who was there? What's going on? What are the challenges? What's the fun stuff happening outside of the studio? It's little stories like that we want to preserve. And he said he'd never told the story about the 2000 red picks being thrown on the stage at Live Aid until our previous episode, where we interviewed he and Alan Hunter about that fateful day, July 13th, 1985. These are the little things, the stories that we like to preserve here on The Wolf, stuff we want to know about. It helps shape the events of our lives. Certainly Live Aid was one. This is a big record in Eric Clapton's catalog, important time for him where he starts to come back to the mainstream from some really rough days, and we just appreciate every time he's on the show. We love his stories, and we want to continue to hear more of them. And if you want to continue to hear more of them, you got to let us know. You email us at uglyamericanwerewolf@gmail.com. You let us know the bands, the albums, the tours, the concerts, the events, the books, the DVDs, the rock properties you want to hear us talk about here on the show. You need to download and subscribe to make sure you never miss an episode. Those downloads are the lifeblood of growing our show. And if you really want to help us out, hey, please go out and give us a 5-star review. Just takes a minute. It means the world to us. And if you send it our way, we might just read it on an episode. Thanks as always to Pantheon Podcast for making us part of the family. And thanks to our sponsor, rarevinyl.com, where if you use the code UGLY, you can save 10% off one entire order. Well, that's it for this week, folks. Back to a normal schedule. We're going once a week out on Thursdays for Ugly American Werewolf and once a month for First Concert Memories right around the first of the month. We hope you've enjoyed these special episodes we've had lately with these special guests as much as we have. My special thanks to Lee Dickson for being a great guest and a good neighbor. Proud to call you my friend. Hope to see you soon. And to all you rockers all around the world, be cool and keep doing what you do to keep rock alive.